welcome back to another video. And today what I have for everyone is my full review of the Samsung Galaxy S20 5G here in late 2023, early 2024. I haven't decided when I'm going to put this video out yet, but I have pretty much put this device through all of its paces and I've tested it extensively. Okay? And I feel like I've gathered all my thoughts and opinions on it, and that's what I'm going to share with everyone today in this video. Okay? So hopefully by the end of this video, you guys and gals know if this device is still worth it picking up. Okay? So without further ado, let's dive into the video. Now, starting off here, the first thing I want to talk about with everyone is the overall build quality and design of the device. Okay? Now, build quality wise, this is your premium flagship device. So we got Gorilla Glass 6 on the back and the front, and we have a nice aluminum mid-frame holding everything together. Alright, so this is your typical flagship glass on glass sandwich. Okay, and in terms of the build, I have to say Samsung has done a great job. This device does have a really nice balanced and lightweight feel in the hand. Okay, but the downside to that is it is extremely fingerprinty and extremely slippery without a case on. Okay, so if you're going to pick this device up, I do recommend you at least pick up a case and add some much needed grip to an otherwise very slippery device. But other than that, in terms of the build, in my opinion, it is top notch. Talking about the overall design, this is typical Samsung design for the time. Okay, this is the S20 series. This was when Samsung redesigned their camera layout from the S10. So you see the S10 kind of had a layout like this. They redesigned it to more of a rectangle shape on the back. They added even more glass, and then they kept the traditional Samsung design. So aluminum polished rails on the top and the bottom and the sides, which are cut out for the antenna bands. Okay, really good stuff there. Overall, in terms of the design, I would have to say this is a really good design in my opinion. The one thing I don't like about this design is the curved display. Alright? This curved display, in my opinion, is not needed. It adds to a lot of ghost touches. And, you know, that's just the big major thing. I don't like having a lot of accidental or ghost touches. Alright? So, for me, this is not the best design. I would have preferred a flat style design, similar to the S10 here, a nice flat display. But for what it is a really good overall design. Typical Samsung design in my opinion. And I am fumbling it like a noob here, so let's go ahead and put the case on so I can get my grip back. Alright, and then we can continue on with the video. Whew, there we go. Much needed grip has returned. But overall, when we talk about the build quality and design of the S20 5G on the whole, I have to say the build quality and design on this one is really good. Really good indeed. Okay? Now, let us move on. So up next now, let's talk about this display. Okay? Now up front, dead center here, we have a 6.2 inch Super AMOLED 1080p plus HDR10 plus Gorilla Glass 6 120 Hertz Super AMOLED display, dynamic Super AMOLED display. Okay? And for you guys and gals that want to know, this bad boy has a resolution of 1440 by 3200, and it has a 20:9 aspect ratio and a PPI of 563 pixels per inch. For all you guys and gals that like to know the technical specifications in regards to the display, there you go. Alright, now talking about the display on the day-to-day, I have to say this is a really good display. So you can see indoors here, this is where I keep it at, just below 50%. And then outdoors, I do feel as though I do need to max it out, especially in direct sunlight. But in terms of day-to-day usage, I have not had any issues with this display. I haven't had any issues whatsoever. Okay? This is a top-notch display in my overall opinion. And let me give y'all something to look at so y'all can appreciate the display just like I do. So let's pull up this YouTube video here. And let me push play on this. And you can see this is a phenomenal display. Now, my camera here is kind of washing it out. But you can see if we look at it off axis, this is a phenomenal display. And this display looks great. It's a great looking display in my opinion. Alright? But Samsung is known for having really good displays. So I expected nothing the less. It's a Samsung device. Samsung is known for having really great displays. And they more than delivered with this device. This is a really, really good display. Alright? Let's move on now. So in terms of the display, in my opinion, it is a top-notch display on this device. Okay? And if you're the type of person that wants a really good display on this device and you don't want to break the bank, you can definitely consider this older flagship here. Okay? Now, let's keep it moving now. Let's go. Up next now, let's dive a little bit deeper into the hardware on this device. And then let me talk about my overall experiences with the software on this device. Alright? So, let's run through this hardware here. So, in terms of the hardware, we have a triple camera setup on the rear. We have a 64 megapixel primary sensor in the middle. Okay, we got a 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor at the top with a 120 degree field of view. And then we have a 12 megapixel telephoto sensor on the bottom, right? Flipping it to the front, lighten up the display. We have a 10 megapixel front facing camera on the front. And then again, we already talked about the 6.2 inch 1080p plus display. Okay, talking about the cameras and what they can do, the rear-facing cameras can record in up to 4K at 30 FPS, do 1080p 30 and 60, do 1080p 120, 240, and 720p 480 frames per second slow motion on the rear. Okay, the primary 64 megapixel camera can record in up to 8K at 24 FPS, okay? And the front-facing 10 megapixel camera can record all the way up to 4K at 60 FPS, okay? And I gotta say, in terms of the cameras, this device has some really great cameras. We're gonna dive into it a little bit later on in the video. But that does it for the camera specifications. Now, diving into more hardware on this device right here. This bad boy has 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of internal storage with micro SD card expansion or dual SIM support. But this device also does support eSIM support as well. So you could have 2 nano SIMs or a nano SIM and a micro SD card, or 2 nano SIMs and 1 eSIM. But in regards to the eSIMs, you can get up to, I believe it's 7 on the device, but you can only have 2 active numbers total. Okay? Now, diving into more hardware on this device right here, we have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 octa-core flagship chip on this device with the Adreno 650 GPU. We got Wi-Fi 6 dual band Wi-Fi on this device. We have Bluetooth 5.0 built in on here. We do have a stereo speaker setup. So we have one bottom firing speaker and then one front firing speaker coming out of the receiver grill. we are able to charge this device via USB Type-C. Now, sadly, when you're charging it wired, it only supports up to 25-watt wired charging via Direct Power Delivery 3.0. It does support wireless charging, okay, but that's only up to 15 watts, okay, and it does also support reverse wireless charging, so you can charge up a pair of wireless charging earbuds or a wireless charging smartwatch using the device itself, but that's only up to 4.5 watts, okay? We do have OTG support on here, we do have NFC support on here, and we do have MIT support on here, or Samsung's integrated chip that simulates having a credit card or a debit card. Okay, so we do have MIT technology on here, MIT. Okay, and this bad boy does support IP68 waterproofing, so you can drop it in up to 3 feet of water for an hour, and you should be good to go. If you pull it out and just make sure you dry out all the ports and dry out the device, it should work no problems. Okay? Other than that, we have on paper a 4,000 milliamp hour battery on here. I say on paper because it's actually a lot smaller battery than 4,000. Okay? I'm going to verify that for y'all a little bit later on. And then we also have face unlock. You see the lock there? No face detected. And we have an ultrasonic under-display fingerprint scanner. And I got to tell y'all, that under-display fingerprint scanner works flawlessly. Flawlessly. Okay? And that essentially, guys and gals, goes over all of the hardware. Now, if I missed anything, I'll correct myself in post, but I do believe that goes over all of the hardware right here. Now, moving on, let's talk about my experiences with the software on this device right here. And I gotta say, in terms of my experiences with the software, it has been a phenomenal experience, and I haven't had any issues, especially when we talk about day-to-day software performance. Applications load up nice and fast. I'm able to keep a large variety of applications in the memory, and they don't reload as fast. Okay? So overall software performance on this device, in my opinion, is top notch, and you get all of the awesome Samsung features. Okay? So you got Smart View, you got Quick Share, you got Samsung Dex, and a variety of other Samsung specific features on this device, and it is running the latest One UI 5.1 on top of Android 13, and it is running the latest April security patch. I haven't gotten my May security patch as of the recording of this video, and you can see it is May 18th as of the recording of this video, but it's still fairly up to date in terms of the software and in terms of the coverage for the software support. This bad boy is guaranteed 5 years of at least security patches. Now, I don't know how Samsung is going to support their older devices in terms of major OS updates, but this bad boy is guaranteed at least 5 years of security patches. Okay? And as I said, in terms of the software on the day-to-day, I've had no issues with this bad boy right here. No issues whatsoever. And again, when I say I tested this bad boy, I tested it doing everything. I used it as a regular device. I used it as an editing machine. I used it as a social media machine. I tested it doing everything. And it held up no problems. No problems whatsoever. And I didn't have any issues. So, in regards to the software, it is top-notch on this device right here. In regards to the overall hardware, I have to say this is a top-notch combination of hardware that Samsung has put into this device right here. Okay? So, top-notch when we talk about the overall hardware, and top-notch when we talk about the overall software on this device right here. Okay? Up next now, let's talk about the overall Wi-Fi performance, and I'm going to give y'all a speaker test as well. Now, in regards to the Wi-Fi, as I said before, this says dual band Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi 6, some of the latest and greatest. And in regards to the Wi-Fi performance, I haven't had any issues. Let me pull up something from a good friend of mine, your boy Two Phones, that we can use to test the Wi-Fi. And we can also use it to give y'all a speaker test. So let me pull that up here. And here it is right down here. Okay. And I'll leave links to my good friend Two Phones Sound Nation page. So if you enjoy what you hear, check out the link and go ahead and give him a follow. Okay. And I really do appreciate it, bro, that you let me feature your music in my videos with no issues. I appreciate that so much. So let me turn up the speakers, because this also is going to double as a speaker test. And let me make sure Adobe Audio is turned off, because I'm going to test the speakers with Adobe turned off, and I'm going to test the speakers with Adobe turned on. So maybe y'all will be able to hear the difference. Okay? So Adobe is off. We got our music pulled up. Let me put my microphones into position. Now today, we are recording all the audio using the microphones on the Samsung Galaxy Buds Plus. So we're going to put one mic right there. Okay, and we're going to put the other mic right here. And we want to make sure they're evenly spaced. Want to give y'all a nice balanced sound sample. And now I'm going to go ahead and just push play and let y'all see how the Wi-Fi performs and let y'all hear how the speakers perform. Let's go. So let's push play. Alright, so real quick Wi-Fi performance test, real quick speaker test as well. And let me pause it here real quick. Let's turn on the Adobe Audio. So now you should have even better speaker performance. And let's push play again. Okay, here we go. Okay, so as you guys and gals can hear, no issues with the Wi-Fi, no issues whatsoever. And you even saw it earlier when we tested out the display, when I loaded up that YouTube video. No issues loading up the video, no issues playing the video, no issues with the Wi-Fi whatsoever. And let's talk about how I feel about the speakers on this device right here. Let me put the microphones back in so I don't have to yell. I don't like yelling when I'm recording. I like to talk at my normal cadence. So let me put the microphones back. And let me talk about how I feel about these speakers, okay? So in regards to the speakers, I do feel as though Samsung has some really good speakers on this device, okay? I'm not a fan of the placement. I really do wish they had put another slit here on the front of the display to give you true front-facing stereo speakers. But I have to say, for a stereo speaker down-firing and front-firing setup, these speakers are really good. But I did experience one issue, that the speakers themselves are unbalanced. you have more sound and volume coming out of this bottom speaker, and you have less sound and volume coming out of this top front-facing speaker here. Okay, so I kind of wish the placement was true stereo front-facing, front-firing speakers, and I do wish the speakers were more balanced. But for what they are, the speakers on this device are really good indeed. And as I said, the overall Wi-Fi performance on here is top notch. Okay, top notch indeed. Okay, so up next now, let's move on. Let's talk about the LTE and the 5G support on this device. Now, this device is fully GSM unlocked. This is the Verizon variant of the S20 5G. All right, so it will give you 5G on Verizon's network or any of their subcarriers. Okay, but it is 4G unlocked to work on all of the other carriers here. Okay, so you're not going to get 5G on AT&T. You're not going to get 5G on T-Mobile, but you will get 5G on Verizon or Straight Talk. And I actually tested this on AT&T. Let me turn off my Wi-Fi, and you can see 4G LTE right there. And this is running on AT&T. I think it shows you on the lock screen here. All right, free up mobile AT&T, and it's working, no problems here. Let me show you. So let me turn down the speakers. Okay, and you can see it's over LTE. Let's launch that YouTube video again, and let's push play. And you can see it loads right up, and this is all running over LTE, 4G LTE. Now, there is no doubt in my mind that if I put my Straight Talk Verizon SIM in this device, it's going to work. But I did not put my Straight Talk Verizon SIM in this device because I keep that SIM in the iPhone. And that SIM is going to stay in my iPhone until my iPhone is paid off. But it will work on Verizon or Straight Talk Verizon or any other Verizon subcarrier. And it is GSM unlocked to work on any GSM carrier like AT&T or T-Mobile or any of their subcarriers. Okay. And you can see the LTE on here is working no problem. And let me show you guys and gals the bands here. Let me push pause. Let me get back on Wi-Fi so I'm not using up my data. I do not have an unlimited data plan. Let me show you the available bands on this device. Okay, so let's go in here. Let me pull it up. I had it pulled up before, my bad. That's because Telegram is going crazy. That's why it accidentally made me tap on the Telegram there. All right, and here, let's pull up the bands here. Okay, and here you guys and gals can see the bands. Now, we're having a little bit of exposure struggles here. Let me adjust my brightness here, maybe make it a little easier. Okay, let me check that. There we go. So here, you guys and gals can see the bands here. Now, if this is unclear, I'll leave a link to this website down below in the video description. Okay, because I am using my S10e to record this video in Video Pro mode so I can use Bluetooth audio. Okay, and you can see it is having some issues with the exposure. So if this is unclear or unreadable in regards to the bands, check out the link down below in the video description and you can see all the bands that this S20 5G supports. Okay, but as long as your carrier supports these bands, you should be good to go. Okay, so that goes over the LTE, the 5G, and the supported bands on this device. Now let's move on to some other categories. Up next now, let's talk about the Bluetooth and the overall Bluetooth performance on this device. And I gotta tell y'all, in regards to the Bluetooth, let me bring up the display a little bit here. In regards to the Bluetooth, I have to say the Bluetooth on here has been phenomenal. Again, Telegram blowing up today. All right, the Bluetooth on here has been phenomenal. and you can see just how many Bluetooth devices I've tested with the S20 5G. I actually have had this device for a really long time before I recorded my videos on it. So this bad boy had extensive testing, okay? Especially when we talk about overall testing, especially when we talk about Bluetooth testing in general. The Bluetooth performance on this device has been top notch, and sure, it's a little bit older, Bluetooth 5.0, but it still works, no issues. And I've had no issues with the Bluetooth on this S25G, no issues whatsoever. Okay? Now, let's move on now. Up next, let's talk about the overall GPS performance on this device right here. And if you checked out my display demo outdoors, I was actually doing a turn-by-turn navigation test when I did that display B-roll. And I gotta say, the GPS on here has been phenomenal. Now, GPS to me is very important because I use my GPS every day. So the fact that this GPS performance was top-notch, I was really, really happy. Okay? But this is a flagship device, and I never heard any issues about the GPS module on here having any problems. So I was expecting to have phenomenal GPS performance, and this device did deliver. Okay? So GPS performance on this device was and is top-notch. Okay? Up next now, let's talk about phone call quality and speaker call quality. Okay? Now, I actually tested this device on AT&T. That's a big deal because your carrier and the carrier's coverage does directly determine how good the overall call quality and speaker call quality is. I have really good overall coverage here with AT&T in my area, and I gotta say, in terms of receiver phone calls, didn't have any issues. Loud, crisp, clear. I can easily hear the caller on the other end. They didn't have any issues hearing me. In terms of speaker phone calls, more of the same. Loud, crisp, clear. Didn't have any issues hearing the other person on the other end. They didn't have any issues hearing me. So in regards to the call quality and the speaker call quality on the S25G, it was top notch. Top notch indeed. Okay? Now, let's get into some more important categories here. Now, let's talk about my overall experiences with the cameras. Again, let me reiterate, we got a 10 megapixel front-facing camera that can record in up to 4K. And then we have a triple camera setup on the rear, 64 megapixel primary in the middle, 12 megapixel ultra wide at the top, and a 12 megapixel telephoto at the bottom. Again, you can record in up to 8K 24 FPS, do 4K 30 and 60, 1080p at 120, 240, 720p at 480 slow motion with the rear facing cameras, and you can do up to 4K 60 on the front, and this is a 10 megapixel front facing camera. Alright, now I'm just going to share my overall opinions and thoughts because I did do a separate dedicated camera review / camera walkthrough on this device. I'll make sure I link it up down below in the video description, and if I remember, I'll throw up a card in the video as well. Okay? But in the full review here, I'm just going to talk about my overall experiences and whether or not I like it and whether or not I feel these are some good cameras. Okay? But if you would like to see all of my camera samples, all of my video samples, please check out the link to my full camera video down below in the video description. Okay? And feel free to check that video out and then come back and leave your feedback down below in the comments of this full review. Just remember to keep it respectful, please, when you're leaving your comments. Alright? Now, let's get into how I feel about these cameras. Let's get into my overall camera experience. Now, in regards to the cameras, I judge the cameras on smart devices with 3 different categories, okay? Point and shoot photo performance, point and shoot video capture capabilities, and overall audio capture capabilities. Those are the 3 categories that when I'm testing the cameras, I test extensively. Okay? I'm very point and shoot. Okay? I like to line it up like a pixel, make sure it's in focus, snap, and take the shot. Okay? I don't like to adjust too many settings. I don't like to dial too many things in. I'm very point and shoot. I want it to be quick. I want it to be good because I don't want to miss the moment. Okay? And in regards to all three of these categories, I have to say the cameras on the S20 5G did a great job. Okay? Great job indeed. Okay? Whether I was taking photos, didn't have any issues. Whether I was taking videos, didn't have any issues. And the photos came out very nice, crisp, and clear, and tack sharp with just the right amount of saturation. But I'm a little bit biased because I like a little bit of saturation in my photos. And Samsung is really good at adding the saturation to their photos. Samsung is not known for their realism. They're known for their saturation and pleasing to the eye photos. And that is what these cameras deliver. So in terms of photo performance, these cameras did a great job. In terms of video performance, these cameras did a great job. In terms of overall audio capture capabilities, these cameras did a great job. And I didn't have any issues with the cameras on the S20 5G. No issues whatsoever. Okay? If there's one thing I have to say that I don't like about the device, there's no 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. So you will have to use USB Type-C plug-in audio or use Bluetooth overall audio support, which this device has. Okay? But other than that, in regards to the cameras on this device, in my opinion, are top-notch, and I didn't have any issues. Okay? They're right up there, rivaling the cameras on the iPhone. Okay? Overall, though, I still feel as though the iPhone has the better point-and-shoot performance, and it does have the better video performance. Okay? But overall, the cameras on the S20 5G are top-notch in my opinion. Okay? The iPhone is just a little bit easier to use. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. Okay? But that being said, that goes over my experiences with the cameras. Let's move on now. Okay? Up next, let's talk about my overall experience gaming on this device. Okay? Now, gaming on this device, I am not a heavy gamer, but I did test out my two favorite games, Asphalt 9 and Call of Duty Mobile, and this device handled those two games with ease. Okay? I've done a separate dedicated gaming video. Again, I'll link it down below in the video description, and if I remember, I'll throw up a card. Okay? But it handled my favorite games with ease. Okay? But it did get warm while I was playing those games, and playing games on this device is going to murder your battery life. Not kill your battery life. It's going to murder your battery life. Okay? When I started out my game testing, my device was at, I want to say, 85%. Y'all check out the gameplay video. And by the time I was done editing and pulling the footage off on the device was at like 20%. And I only gamed for like, 2 hours straight? Okay? And then I edited that down into like what was it, a 10-minute video? Okay? But gaming on this device, no issues. But it will murder your battery life. Okay? Okay? But overall, gaming on here was top-notch in my experience. Okay? Now, let's get into another important category. Let's talk about the overall battery life and the overall charge times on this device. Let's go. Now, let's talk about the battery life first, okay? And this is where I want to bring something to everyone's attention. Now, on paper, Samsung is quoting that the S20 5G has a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. Again, it's really hard to see. Let me adjust my display brightness here. Come on, come on, come on, come on. There we go. That's a little bit easier to see. Now, on paper, Samsung is quoting that this device has a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. Based on my testing and verifications, however, this device has a 3,880 milliamp hour battery. And Samsung actually also verifies this in the battery settings on the device. So although they're quoting 4,000 milliamp hours in terms of the battery, on paper, it's actually 3,880 milliamps. Okay? Okay. That being said, though, in terms of the battery life, and I'll throw up my results and stats for the battery life and charge times in post. In terms of the overall battery life, I have to say the battery life on the S20 5G is really good. Okay? Now, what I'm showing you guys and what I'm talking about in terms of the battery life is coming from a extremely heavy user standpoint. Your guys and gals results may vary because we all use our devices differently. Okay? That being said, in terms of the overall battery life, I was easily getting through the day with moderate to light usage. With my style of super heavy usage, I did need to charge the device one additional time depending on how heavy the day was. Okay? And in terms of screen on time, I was getting anywhere from between 7 hours of screen on time to just hitting 10 hours of screen on time. Okay? With this device right here. Okay? Now, that kind of made me sad because in order to get that 10 hours of SOT or screen on time, I really had to push this battery hard. Okay? Like heavier days, I literally ended the day in like single digits on the battery. Okay? And I don't like pushing the battery on my devices down to single digits because then when you charge it back up, it really does take a toll on the battery. Charging your device from completely empty to close to full or completely full really does take a toll on the overall battery. And that's not something that I like to do. Okay? And just for reference, just so everyone knows, let me show you. This is a Amazon Renewed device. And all Amazon Renewed devices are stated as having an 80% battery health or better. Now, this particular one, when I bought it, it had 86% battery health after I did my battery cycles. But you can see, putting it through the full review process, I actually lost 2% battery health. Okay? And that's from doing the full drain and recharge cycles. And pretty much anything under 15% is counted as a cycle now. So from 15% to 80% is a cycle. Or 15% to 100% or anything under that is a cycle. So just putting it through my regular review process really beat up the battery here. Okay? So kind of wish there was a bigger battery on here, but the overall battery life in this device is really good in my opinion. And again, if you're not a super heavy user, if you're a more light to moderate user, this battery is going to serve you well. Okay? Now, talking about the charge times, okay? The charge times on this device are really good. Really good indeed. Charging wired, this bad boy charges up in about 45 to an hour and a half in terms of charging. So it charges up to full in about 45 minutes or up to an hour and a half, depending on the percentage that the device is at when you plug it onto the charger or when you plug it into the charger. Okay? Now, charging wirelessly, depending on if you have super fast wireless charging turned on or not, it's going to charge up in about 2.5 to 3.5 hours. Okay? With super fast wireless charging turned off, it's going to charge up in about 3.5 to 4.5 hours. Okay? So standard stuff there when we talk about wireless charging. Okay? And really good overall charge times when we talk about wired charging. Now, in regards to the reverse power share, I didn't really use that feature right there. I'm not a big fan of doing that. In my opinion, that just causes unnecessary drain on the battery. Okay? Okay. So that goes over the overall battery life. It's really good in my opinion. And that goes over the overall charge times, top-notch charge times in my opinion. Anything at or below an hour and a half, in my opinion, is top-notch. Okay? You can also call it good to really good, considering that nowadays we got like what? 144 watt fast wired charging, and we got 210 watt fast wired charging that can get your devices up to full in minutes, like 20 to 35 minutes. So you could say it's good charging, but in my opinion, based on all the devices that I use, I would say it's top-notch charging, okay? Top-notch indeed. Okay. Now, let's move on now to the final part of this review. Let's talk pricing. Let's talk overall availability. Let me get into my final thoughts and let me make recommendations. Okay? Now, and I'll throw my digital screenshot up in the video in post. Okay? But, okay, I picked this device up from Amazon on the Amazon Renewed program, and device and case included. This device ran me $255.72. I'm looking at the digital receipt right now as I tell you guys. All right? But, okay, let's say you want to buy this device right now today. Let me pull up the live listing and see what they're going for. So, an unlocked S20 5G. Okay, this particular color is the Cosmic Gray, 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of onboard storage variant. Okay, and this is the globally unlocked variant. Okay, which is GSM unlocked in the States and globally unlocked abroad. Okay, and this one is going for, let's see, refurbished, good condition, refurbished, renewed. It's going for $200, $199.99, or refurbished, good condition, refurbished, acceptable condition is going for $160. Okay, and let me just double check. Okay, so refurbished, excellent condition is $202. Okay, so the current pricing on this one is ranging from $160 all the way up to $202 and change. And I actually got this device that y'all see in the video for $255.72. And at that price, can I recommend that you guys and gals pick up this device? Well, I would have to say yes. Yes, indeed. If you're looking for a flagship device at a really great price, and you're really not trying to break your bank or break your wallet, but you still want something a little bit more modern and up to date and supported with security patches, you really can't go wrong with this device right here. You can't go wrong at all. Okay? So can I recommend that you guys and gals go out there and pick up an S20 5G today? If you're in the market for a new device and you want an older flagship device, I would have to say yes. Yes, indeed. All right. That does it for today's full review. Okay. And I am going to try and get this one out today because, as I said in my camera video, I actually just finished recording all the segments for the full camera review / walkthrough. So I'm going to try and get that one out today. Okay. And add it to the schedule. And I'm also going to try and get the full review of this device right here out today and add it to the schedule. So if I'm able to get these 2 videos edited, uploaded, scheduled, they will drop on the same day, probably an hour or maybe a half an hour apart. Okay? But once again, can I recommend you guys and gals pick up this device? I would have to say yes. Yes, indeed. Okay? I hope you guys and gals enjoyed this video. I hope you guys and gals found it helpful. If you did, you know what to do. Please help your boy out by giving the video a thumbs up. That really does help me out. You don't know how much. If you guys and gals would like to see more videos like this, also feel free to hit the subscribe button down below. And make sure you click off the notification bell icon right next to it so you guys and gals get notified when I publish new videos. That being said, if this video did pique your interest and you guys and gals would like to know where you can pick up this device at a really great price, all of the affiliated purchasing links for this device and any relevant accessories, along with all of my extended coverage, will be linked up down below in the video description. And as the name implies, those are affiliated links. So when you guys and gals use those links, I do get a small percentage of kickback that I do put back into the channel, but that's at no additional cost to you guys and gals. So that makes those affiliated links, in my opinion, a win-win for everyone. And if you would like to see any more of my extended coverage on this device, I'll link up all of my coverage on this device down below in the video description as well. So the video description will truly be like a one-stop shop for you guys and gals, and you should be good to go. Now, before I get up out of here, time to answer the all-important question. Am I going to be keeping this device? Well, if you check out my unboxing video, I actually picked up this device to replace this device right here, my S10e, and to replace the features on this device right here, my Samsung Galaxy S7 Active. Okay, I've been using the dual recording feature on this device for what feels like forever now, and I really wanted to upgrade to a newer device that had the same feature and kind of phase this device out. The battery is kind of really taking a beating, and I really don't want to pay to get it replaced because then I'll lose the waterproofing. And I really wanted to upgrade to something more modern. So I wanted to upgrade to this to record with and edit with. But sadly, y'all, after testing it extensively, I'm not gonna keep it. I'm not gonna keep it. Now, I am going to give it away, and the person that I'm going to give it away is really going to enjoy it. I hope they take really good care of it.